One thing that I always did, one thing that I always did that really helped me in training was when I sat through something like this, where the top trainers in the hierarchy would go through what they were doing, how they were doing it. I would look for an adjustment that I could add on to what I was already doing right. Something that I was doing, if it wasn't working, I had to change something, obviously. But if it was working, then I didn't have to change anything. I just have to add on. And slowly but surely, I started building this brick wall, brick after brick after brick. And then that's where the skill sets come that you see that Shondell has, that now Sheila has, that now I have. So this is something that didn't happen overnight. It was a series of thousands of these trainings, hundreds of these trainings. When you guys come in, it's not like you're going to sit through 1 hour training is going to change your life. You got to implement it, go through your notes and everything. So today I'm really excited because, this is something that we need, our team needs, as far as talking about recruiting. Shondell's going to lead us in, and then I'm going to close us out. But we have the amazing Sheila Bustamante going through her examples, because who else better to listen to than somebody who's making $13,000 in her last month, in her first week, full time, guys. So take out your notebooks and make sure you are paying attention. So Shondell can kick us off.
If I can unmute myself. Awesome, guys. Thanks so much for joining us today. Super excited to go through these topics with you. We just want to start off with some mentality before we get into it. It's always good to go into the right mindset when we get started with training. So when we're thinking about recruiting, I'm excited to go through some of this stuff because we haven't talked about recruiting that often these past couple weeks on Saturday training. So you always have to have the right mentality going into recruiting and the reasons why you're recruiting. I mean, I know a lot of people started this business because they didn't want to have to work for the rest of their lives. And the only way to get to the point to where you can stop working is to recruit. So you have to work now so you don't have to work later. And the work now is building an agency, right? So if you start recruiting, you're prospecting, you're bringing in new teammates, it's not just the recruiting aspect, but then building a licensed agency, right? Working on getting those people licensed so then they can be productive, because then you can make that transition in the cash flow quadrant from being a self-employed agent here to somebody that has an agency, other people working when maybe you're not working. Maybe now you can be on vacation and now you're a business owner. And when you're a business owner, you can have your income coming in passively, right? Which is the dream, because now you can go on vacation, you can spend time with your kids, you can do the things that you want to do without having to punch the clock, right? The 9 to 5. It was so funny. We were talking to Sheila last night about going full time, and she was like, she told us about the job and what they wanted her to do, and she was like, hell no, what do they think? I'm not doing that. I'm leaving full time, right? So with that, you want to get to the point to where you can have that freedom and that flexibility, because that's really, when you think about it, overall, the quality of your life is going to depend on the time and your money and the freedoms that you have with both of those areas. So when you look at it, guys, when we're recruiting, an IBA is not a recruit. So what do we mean by that? Submitting paperwork does not mean that that person's a recruit yet. You got to spend time with that person. You have to have multiple meetings with that person. They need to show up to training. That's very important. They need to show up to training, right? And so when you get a new person, a new IBA submitting that paperwork, great, but the work starts then. You got to make sure you're doing the right things. And it's all about having a great fast start meeting and making sure you're doing that with a competent trainer, right? So once you do that, I think Jen's going to come in and talk about, once you're training people, what's going to come from that.
All right. So yeah, when you go through a training appointment with a trainer, it's not just about the competent trainer like Shondell already mentioned, but also a credible trainee. We're going to go through that later. But when you have those three things happening together, you're in a qualified appointment, you have a competent trainer that can show you how to overcome objections, and then you as a trainee or your trainee has credibility with the person we're doing a qualified appointment with. Those three things make up the magic in the appointment and make it so much easier to close. In our fast start meeting, we have a visual of a basketball court, right? And I always say to people, take notes on this, guys, because it makes sense to the trainee. When you're doing a fast start meeting, what Shondel's going to go through, and I'm sure she's going to mention this, you have to normalize what we teach to people, because people think that what we teach is just Primerica land, right? So not only do we have to brainwash them to a new level of thinking, but duplication starts in the mind. It's not just them showing up and doing physical stuff. It starts in the mind. They're duplicating your mindset as well, right? So from great field training, after the field training, you have to debrief with your trainee. If you're not debriefing with your trainee, they don't know what they did incorrectly. They don't know what adjustments they need to make, because the trainee giving themselves their own adjustment, that's not going to work. You can't be a prophet in your own land. But when you think about Sheila, right? Sheila didn't quit her job just because somebody tried to force her, her boss tried to force her to do things against what she wanted to do, right? The requirements that they had for her were pretty hot, pretty difficult for her to meet, or she just inconvenient for her to meet. She didn't want to do it, but she only quit because she could. Think about it. She only quit because she could. She quit because she already was making money part-time. She quit because she already knew how to close on her own. And that started with her showing up. I remember when Sheila would have 2, 3 obligations, right? Job and a business outside of Primerica. She just started and she'd be coming to training. And we'd be like, yo, how are you even making it to training? You got all this stuff going on. Then Samir would get up and he would say, anytime that I call Sheila, she may not get back to me right away, but she'll always text me back. I can attest to that, right? But Sheila had 3 other obligations plus her dogs and her husband and everyone else. I don't know how she did it, but because she had no excuses part-time and she said yes to her business part-time, once her job started putting their thumb on her, she could quit her job and say yes to herself 100%. Think about it, right? So Sheila's credible. Samir has the competence. They've got together and went on qualified appointments, and that's where the duplication started. And now she's a great example we're going to recognize later to follow, and she represents her company. At the end of the day, when you meet with somebody, like Shondell said, Primerica is not Primerica to that person. You're Primerica to that person. You're the example they're going to follow, or the warning they're going to avoid. When your team looks at you, or when somebody comes in and does a follow-up with you, do you look like somebody that can take them somewhere, right? Or do you look like somebody that, geez, I don't know if I want to join that team, I don't know, man. They don't look like they make any money. She don't look like she make any money. He don't look like he make any money. He don't sound pretty confident in what he's talking about, right? Or, dang, he's sold out. He's not for sale. She's sold out. She's not for sale, right? So I'm really excited for you guys to hear from her. But of course, Shondell is going to kick us off with recruiting, and I'm excited to hear this. So go ahead, Shondell.
All right, guys. So let's start off with the number 1 fundamental. So when you think about, there's the godfather of recruiting, they call him Hector Lamarck. And so he talks about the 7 fundamentals within our business, as far as the different things that someone needs to focus on and build a legitimate business here. So one of the first things is prospecting, and prospecting is just going out and meeting new people with the intention for something to come about within your business, whether it's a client, a referral source, a recruit, right? So you have to prospect. And so why are we prospecting? One of those reasons is to recruit and build a new team. And so when we're recruiting, guys, it's very important that you know why you're recruiting. Yes, we want to build a business. Yes, we want passive income. But when we're talking to that new person, we're recruiting them for 2 main reasons, right? If Bruce ever asks you guys this question, why are we recruiting someone? This is always the 2 answers. So make sure you write this down. Number 1, more places to go. More places to go. So if you're someone and you're like, hey, man, I don't know where my market is at right now. I don't have a lot of people to work with, so on and so forth. I don't have any appointments to get set. Go out and find a new teammate, because that new teammate will have a new market that can lead you to new people, whether it's new clients or whether it's new teammates as well, right? So one major reason is more places to go. But then the second reason is to find potential leaders, right? leaders. So someone definitely can get licensed, and then once they get licensed, they can start putting in the right actions to become a leader, which means, hey, they're self-improving on a regular basis. They're working on their presentation, they're mastering their objections, right? They're starting to do activity without you telling them to do activity, right? All of those various things. So with that, guys, those are the reasons, because when you recruit, when you find that person that does show the right skill sets and right characteristics, now they can become a potential leader, a new district leader, and then eventually, if they want to go full-time, become a vice president here in your business, right? So those are very, very important to make sure you have understood. So now when you're prospecting, there's going to be various ways that you guys can prospect, and you want to make sure that you pick out a couple different ways. I would say pick 3 and master 3 ways of prospecting. So various options. People can make calls. I know this is how Shaquille built his business. Steam calls, calling people, resumes, calling old lists, just to call and say, hey, would you be open to another opportunity, right? Have a brief conversation, have a script, run through that. Face-to-face prospecting. I know that was a major way that Samir built his business, out and about, out talking to people at stores, at the mall, when maybe he's shopping. And I know right now, Josh on our team, that is his go-to way to meet people for the business as well, right? Face-to-face prospecting. So, hey, could you help me out for a quick second? I help run a financial office down the street. Would you ever keep your options open for extra income or a better opportunity? Just something, throwing it out there, right? When you're talking to someone. Then social media is another option, guys. There's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's LinkedIn. I don't know if you can really prospect on TikTok, but there's a lot of other options, right? That you can use through social media to connect with people. A lot of people on my team, they may say, I don't have their phone number, but they have them on Facebook. You can reach out to people on Facebook, get their numbers there, and then continue moving forward. You can even reach out to people that you don't know on social media. I know Josh and Jen are great with posting good content on their social media to attract people to their business. Self-improvement, what's going on in their business, mentality things, just so that they can connect with people that might be looking for an opportunity, right? Then your warm market. Never, ever, ever stop growing your warm market. Always focus on that as you're growing in the business. That was one thing that Samir stressed to Josh and I a couple years ago now. It's been a while, but it has to be a focus, guys. We can't be hermits in this business. We have to be out. We have to be meeting new people. We have to be creating warm, organic markets, whether it's, like, for example, like I said, last month, guys, I started CrossFit, which has been amazing, right? I know it's something that a lot of people in the organization has been doing as well, but join a gym if you like to work out, go out and meet people there, right? Do sports, do other activities where you know that it's something that you enjoy and you can build natural relationships. Church, right? Join groups at church, Bible studies, things like that. That you enjoy doing. I know we have some people that are in different categories. They like video gaming. Great. Talk to those people, right? Talk to those people and create more markets. And then when you recruit somebody, obviously utilizing their market as well, right? Because sometimes you have to dig through some dirt to find the gold. So the person that you recruit is not always going to be the superstar that you find. You have to learn how to taproot, how to work through their markets to be able to find the people that you want to be successful in your business. A lot of times we hear in Primerica that you have to recruit 4 deep. And once you're 4 deep, that's where the fireball is going to be at. So you always have to be focusing on, okay, I get this person, who can I get under them? And then who can I get under them as soon as possible and work through that. So those are all various ways of prospecting, guys. So just find out which one is kind of your niche and go to. Like for me, social media, LinkedIn is one of my main ones, making steam calls from resumes, and then working through my recruits warm market. Those are my 3 major ways, right? So find yours. Make sure you're setting daily prospecting activity. You want to make sure you're setting recruiting appointments and doing recruiting appointments. Setting recruiting appointments and doing recruiting appointments. You got to do that, because if you're not, then you're not seeing anybody, and weeks go by and you're like, why didn't I get a recruit? So when you look at it, I'm just going to talk about just an example of my numbers for last month throughout our team, and just helping people through our team and myself. If you just focus on completing 10 recruiting appointments a week, okay, it's not a lot, 10 recruiting appointments a week, that's 2 a day, just Monday through Friday. You can have weekends off. I'm not going to take weekends off, but two a day, right? Monday through Friday, just 2 people. And it doesn't have to be, when I say recruiting appointment, it really doesn't have to be that hard, because we have resources that's doing the work for us, guys, right? We have the animated video where you can send to people. It's telling them everything about the business, and all you have to do is follow up with them afterwards. Hey, do you have any questions? So on and so forth. That's another training. Same thing with Shaquille's webinar that you mentioned as well yesterday. That's what I use a majority of the time when I'm reaching out to people that I don't know. Is Shaq's webinar. It's a little bit longer, but it goes through everything. And by the time they get off of that, if they're hopping on my Zoom, there has to be some type of interest already. So it's not like I have to do a lot of work after they watch those webinars. So 2 a day, I can do a follow-up at 10:45, 11:15, and there you go, knocked out two recruiting appointments throughout the day. So with that, 10 a week, 2 a day for 5 days, that was 40 total for the month. And then our team outside of Josh brought in 15 recruits, and 9 of them were directs for me, right? So it doesn't take a lot of work to get your recruiting up. You just have to focus on it. Now, once you get that recruit, just like we said earlier, the paperwork is not the recruit. You have to do the right things with them ASAP. So within 24 to 48 hours, you need to make sure that you're completing their orientation and fast start meeting ASAP. If you can do it that same day, try to do it the same day. If not, the next day. And then get in the field, get them on a qualified appointment as soon as possible, because the longer they wait to see that qualified appointment, the more things might get jumbled in their head. They need to see the business right away. So I'm going to go over just a little bit of the points that I go through in my fast start meeting. And then Jen is going to talk about the field training process. So what to do after you get all this done in the fast start meeting. So for me, we have a couple slides. I think every team has some slides that they go through in a fast start meeting. So let me make sure this is clear to you guys as well. A fast start meeting is the action that you're going to take after somebody watches the orientation video, right? That's what I call it, fast start meeting. I think Jen calls it the fast start meeting as well. So now you're working with that new recruit, and you're helping them understand the business and build a list and work with them. It's the most important meeting, absolutely most important meeting. The webinar, the follow-up meeting after that, getting them started, submitting their IBA, great. That's fine, but this meeting right here is key, because that's why you prospected them, right? So here, we want to make sure that when we start, make sure they watch the video. That's critical. They need to watch the video. I think we have it on Vimeo. There's a Vimeo link. We might also have it on YouTube. It's also on Webinar Jam, where you can schedule them to watch it at a certain time. But there's various options you can get them to watch this orientation video with Samir. And the video is important because it's going to answer all of the questions that you don't want to have to deal with and answer when you start the fast start meeting, right? It's going to break down distribution. It's going to break down why we're recruiting. It's going to break down our market, what we're looking for, right? It's going to talk a little bit about the bonus. It's going to talk a little bit about promotions and the guidelines, getting licensed, showing up to training. All of that will be explained in that video. So you got to make sure they watch that prior to meeting. So then when you hop on, I'm always going to ask, hey, Jen, I know you got a chance to watch that video. Did you have any questions? And then they're going to be like, nope, no questions. All the questions that I had were actually answered in the video. Great. That's why you want them to watch it. So once I get on, then I'm just going to set some expectations. I call it the 3 C's. So you want to be coachable. You want to have consistency. And why am I blanking? Coachable, consistency, communication. Communication. So you want to make sure your communication is good. So coachable, just making sure they're coachable to the system. We're never going to slow you down. We want you to make money fast, and we want you to get licensed fast. So I'm not going to tell you something, Jen, that's going to prevent you from making money or getting licensed quickly, because if you don't make money, I don't make money, right? Then communication is very important. I can't fire you. You're your own boss, but I am your coach. So when I'm reaching out to you, just like Jen had mentioned earlier, I'm looking for a response back. The only way I'm going to know if somebody quit here is if they actually tell me that they quit, or they stop showing up to training and stop responding to my messages. So communication is very, very important. And we communicate mainly through